We are getting down to the wire because it is episode 9 of Drag Race Philippines, Slaysian Royale. The finale is almost here, but of course, we won't let you get to the finale without knowing the references for this episode. So we have a lot of explaining to do. So it is time for Dragsplaining Philippines. Now, before we get going, I would like to first thank everybody for their support in the last couple of weeks. Just because we missed uploads for a week because of bad weather, plus there were earthquakes in the Philippines. And actually, this morning, we just had another one in the south of the Philippines. The faults in this country have been very active lately. It's been a very scary time, but we're still here delivering you our SISNE Pop videos. Fortunately, we are good here. We're filming somewhere where it's really not been affected that much. So we're very glad to be able to film these videos. But also, we want to thank a lot of the people who sent support in the last couple of weeks. Someone actually thanked us and sent us their super like. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate all the support and the love that you have been giving SISNE Pop and Dragsplaining Philippines. Even from last season. So we truly appreciate it. And we look forward to bringing you a lot more content. Now let's get into episode 9 of Slaysian Royale. So I'm sure all of us are still reeling from the fact that Kiana, the iconic Kiana, has been eliminated. And the queens were feeling certain sad emotions because of this. But at the same time, I know that they're rooting for Kiana because Kiana is an amazing queen. And I know that they know that she has a very bright future ahead. And this actually put a lot of things in perspective for the final 4 drag superstars of Slaysian Royale because, you know, it's coming down to the wire. Next week, we will be finding out who will be winning this entire season. But what I really noticed in this moment before they got out of drag is that Suki is learning. She is slowly but surely turning into a Filipino herself because she has been using the Filipino drag vocabulary.
Charot.
And just as a refresher, we've talked about what charot means and all its related words in our last Dragsplaining season, so you can go ahead and watch that video. We have 4 queens remaining: Suki Doll, Arizona Brandy, Vinas Deluxe, and Brigiding. And even in the new day in the workroom, Suki was still having her Tagalog moments on. She was the one who said, "Magandang umaga."
Maganda umaga.
And one thing that's been very apparent with how Suki clearly has been like absorbing a lot of these Filipino elements in her personality and even in her drag, it's the fact that I think Slaysian Royale is such a perfect exhibition of the Filipino love language. You know, this is how Filipinos welcome others, like international queens, like Suki, foreigners. But at the same time, this is just how we are with expressing appreciation for each other. This is just how we are culturally when it comes to celebrating not just Filipino heritage, but Asian heritage and Asian pride. It's such a great example, especially for people who are unfamiliar with the Filipino culture, to really see what we bring to the table in terms of hospitality and creativity and culture. And that makes me really, really proud just as a Filipino Drag Race fan. Even with one of the first things that we see in the episode, which is the that was it actually the mini challenge, but the conversation that the queens will have with Mama Pao and Jervy was really clearly another Filipino element. And that's the theme this entire episode is we see Filipino sisterhood, Filipino energy. I feel like out of all the Slaysian Royale episodes, this is probably the most perfect example of the Filipino celebration. And I believe that that's why for the conversations, they choose to have a boodle fight. So in the Philippines, this is a popular activity for a group of people to eat generally with their hands, with a lot of different kinds of food laid out on some pieces of banana leaf. The boodle fight is communal eating. So a lot of you get together to eat together with so much food right in front of you. And this activity represents equality, community and the bayanihan spirit in the Philippines, because there really is this big sense of community in our culture. Because related to this is the fact that culturally, like if you start eating and there are people around, it's customary to ask them to eat with you.
Tara, kain tayo.
And it's not a real question. Like usually people will just no, go ahead, eat your meal. But that's just a thing that you do. Now, the origins of this actually could be a little problematic because the term boodle fight is actually from the military history of the Philippines, particularly during the time of the Americans occupying the Philippines, which of course had its colonial and imperial elements to it. But since then, the Filipinos have really reclaimed this activity to be more of a celebration of our togetherness. And I really, really love doing it. For me in particular, when me and my friends are at the beach, that's how we sometimes eat the food. And another thing is that sometimes when people are like in the middle of the boodle fight, like everyone's eating and then like some random stranger walks by, they will ask that person to eat with them. Because again, togetherness, community. Now, I love these conversations. I mean, I always love these episodes, like even in Drag Race US, where they have those tic-tac talks with RuPaul and Michelle Visage. I love these conversations because it's really a moment in these episodes to really dig into what the queens are feeling, what have they learned throughout the entire experience, because you don't really get to see a lot of that, especially when the queens are like so stressed out about the challenges every week. So I love these conversations, and especially in the context of a boodle fight. Arizona's talk with Mama Pao and Jervy was really enlightening because it is true. I think that Arizona in Drag Race Philippines is the runner-up that is overlooked, because I think that Marina had such a high even after losing her original season. And I think the same thing happened even with Kiana. I mean, she was on Slaysian Royale. I'm not sure why, but a lot of people did disregard Arizona for some reason. But I think that she was very forthcoming about the fact that, her drag, especially after her season, still was not as polished as she wanted it to be. But she since has really honed her brand into something beautiful and relevant. And I'm glad that she was able to talk about that, especially at this point where she really has been doing well. She has Rue badges, and her point of view has never been clearer. One of my favorite things that Arizona said was, she's not an acquired taste. She is a required taste. And then we have the conversation with Brigiding. And I love this conversation, but let me just say, I think Brigiding is the one to beat this season. I just feel like she's really giving me winner vibes. Fearless prediction. I feel like, what we're looking for when we have All Stars or Versus the World seasons in the Drag Race universe. I feel like the story always is, what have you done with your story from your original season? And I feel like Brigiding slowly has been showing that she really has risen up from all the challenges that she faced, not just during season 1 of Drag Race Philippines, but every other thing that has happened to her career since. I see a clearer Brigiding brand. I see a true winner. I see a drag queen that the Philippines can really be proud of. That's been very obvious for the past 8 episodes, and she knows that. I think Brigiding really knows how well she's doing in the season, and it really all boils down to executing so that the judges will see that she deserves the crown for the season. I do think out of all the queens in the competition, she has been the definition of a rebirth. I think Suki's chat with Mama Pao and Jervy is one of the most important in the episode, because she really talked about it being a very healing experience for her, because aside from the fact that she's an experience as an Asian queen in a franchise, in a reality show brand that's kind of been casting Asian queens out for a while, but also the fact that she's an immigrant. And so she felt like she was having to absorb a culture that wasn't reflected in what she looked like. So to be in an experience like Slaysian Royale, where Asian heritage is celebrated, and it was the whole point of the thing that she was doing, I understand why for her that's definitely a powerful journey. And I feel like in this interview, I feel like I got to know her so much more, because I loved her during her run on Canada's Drag Race, and this season she's really been known to, I've talked about this, she has this really motherly, this caring energy. She's been such a good support system for all her other sisters. In this conversation, I feel like we figure out why that is, like why she has that powerful energy as a drag queen and as an individual. And I think that she's coming from such a place of love and compassion because of her experience being a drag queen in Canada. And finally, it was Vinas Deluxe. And again, for this brutal fight conversation, they always talked about her growth. I do think self-sabotage plays a role with Venus's story, especially from season 1. I mean, I think she was one of the favorites. Like when the cast of season 1 was announced, I feel like Venus was one of the queens that people already touted to be in the final 4. That didn't pan out. And I think that Venus did get in her head a little bit. And that kind of showed up again on her Slaysian Royale experience. So she was able to talk about that and really solidify her brand. And I feel like this season, though, she is in a totally different headspace. And that is such a sight to see, especially because she's already been known internationally as well. I mean, when she's doing DragCon, she's one of the really popular queens. And I'm glad that for this season of Slaysian Royale, we really see a stronger, better Vinas Deluxe. And in the spirit of Filipino efficiency, they did not just have this boodle fight as the challenge. Of course, they had to combine it with a photo shoot. And that is also their mini challenge. That was cute. I loved getting to see Seven Barreto again just because he's such eye candy. But also, he had this really funny quip when he was about to announce the winner.
7, who won our mini challenge?
Wala po tayong winner.
And I guess that's based on this very popular meme of 2 very funny female comedians in the Philippines.
I think wala tayong winner tonight.
And these 2 comedians are just known to be really ditzy. Like their brand is like, they're not very intelligent. Of course, they're actually very funny, witty comedians in real life, but that's kind of what the personalities that they put on. This went viral because this was from a talk show appearance where they were asked who is the smarter person between the 2 of them. And I feel like that was the reference that Seven Barreto was pulling from. But of course, he lied. Because they did indeed have a winner, and that was Vinas Deluxe. Honestly, it could have been a roulette because all 4 photos were fabulous. So, and Seven Barreto takes beautiful pictures. 7, if you have time, baka naman. All I can say is 7, 8, this one. Ano daw? And after this announcement, we see familiar faces enter the workroom. We suddenly see captivating Katkat, Marina Summers, Maxi, and precious Paula Nicole. These are the fierce Filipino drag queens that have really taken the world by storm. It really makes me proud to just see them on the Slaysian Royale workroom because they're amazing queens. Plus, they are called Raina, as it is, and as explained by Marina Summers in the episode, World of Wonder has collected these queens together, formed them into a super power drag girl group because they are amazing performers and they can definitely make amazing music for all the fans out there. So it's wild for like the first official girl group in the Drag Race universe is from the Philippines. Very, very interesting. Because the Philippines is currently in a pop renaissance. If you know K-pop, if you know J-pop, then you should also learn about P-pop. Of course, that is the pop music in the Philippines, especially as we know it now. It is a big thing, not just because P-pop is such a powerful force in Filipino music, it is taking the world by storm. I mean, the nation's girl group, BINI, is one of the acts that will perform at Coachella. And so many other groups like SB19, among others, are performing internationally all over the world, getting rave reviews for their music and their performances. It is really a very big time for Filipino music, and that is why it's no wonder that World of Wonder has formed a powerful drag girl group with 4 amazing Filipino drag queens. And of course, we love Raina, we love the music, and we love seeing these 4 queens back on Drag Race. But that is very much connected to this week's challenge because the 4 finalists have to do a music video for the Raina song, High Time. This song is so good and such a perfect choice not just for this season, but for the 4 queens remaining. Really looking forward to that. Oh, and Venus did have an advantage as part of her win for the mini challenge, and she picked Arizona to have less time. Now, I know if this was Kiana, she would have picked Suki. Yeah, but when the challenge was announced, I was really, really excited because this is a great song, but also this is the first music video challenge of the season. And I know that all these 4 queens can definitely deliver. Plus, they'll be in the video. To prepare for this, of course, they had to write their verses and then record those verses. And the mentoring that they will get from the Raina queens is going to be really important, of course. But I love this particular one, specifically Maxi, because Maxi was really giving them very specific notes. Because, I mean, not to be shady, but Maxi is the legit singer in Raina. Maxi knows notes. Yeah, I'm sure Maxi knows mga nota.
Ang nota mo.
But Maxi knows music really well. And I know that she gave so much valuable technical vocal advice. That's very, very important. And not only did I feel sisterhood here, but it was really genuine mentoring. They cannot do that without first learning the choreography. And for this challenge, they had Nunoy Vandenberg is known as a choreographer and his background in the ballroom scene. But he's also a model and actor and known for his appearance on Legendary. And he is legendary. And after all of that, of course, the queens had to film their music videos. And at this point in the episode, I really started to feel, and I don't know if I can truly have an unbiased, objective take, but it is very clear to me that Drag Race Philippines is a very important franchise in the Drag Race universe. I feel like right now, especially knowing what the queens have been delivering, how season 3 has been received by the universal fans, Drag Race Philippines, I feel like, is the only one that can stand up to the US version in terms of just establishing itself as a really good franchise. And not to say that all the other franchises are bad, but I feel like the Philippines has very much set the tone for, I think, where all the other franchises should go. I feel like the Drag Race formula needs cattiness, needs drama, but there's so much heart to not just Slaysian Royale, but I think all Drag Race Philippines seasons. I talked about this in season 3, where I feel like the edit choices are a lot more compassionate to the queens. That's why I think Drag Race Philippines is really changing a little bit of the landscape. Landscape of the Drag Race environment. And the way that we see the 4 Reina queens mentor the 4 finalists for the music videos is a perfect example of that. There was so much camaraderie. It is very clear that there really is an evolution to the Drag Race brand. And I'm really proud that it's the Philippine franchise that is starting all of it. Now we get to the actual music videos, and I could actually go one by one and say, this is what Suki did, Arizona did, Brigiding did, Vinas did. But all of them, I feel like, did really, really well. Plus, I will say, this is probably the best Drag Race Challenge music video I have seen ever. No shade to a lot of the other music videos, but this was amazing. I feel like Drag Race always has the music videos produced in-house, regardless of the franchise, right? So, but this one, this Slaysian Royale music video, I feel like they had money. They probably hired like an outside production, because it's so good. Like, the shots were amazing. The lighting was amazing. The choreography was amazing. The queens performed so well. It really looked like a legitimate, amazing music video. Plus, it's also a really, really great song. It's so current and so powerful. And I feel like High Time is such a great title just because, again, the Philippines has always been overlooked in terms of talent, not just in drag, honestly, but the Philippines is getting its moment in the sun globally right now. And it is high time. Plus, all the queens' verses were great. I really don't have much to say. I really enjoyed every single one of them. And that was also the same for the runways. I think this was a really fun runway concept. Every single one of them looked great. I will say honorable mention for Venus Deluxe because that was funny. Very on brand, very her, but also very camp. And I'm sure that was what the judges were looking for, and she really gave it because that was hilarious.
It's not just a flashlight, it's a used flashlight.
Can you believe like Venus Deluxe was bullied for her lau lips? Which is crazy because most of us in the Philippines have big lips. So who was bullying her? Other people with big lips. I mean, Venus does have luscious lips. Now, I know the judges are going to have a hard time. This is going to induce a headache for them to deliberate. And the queens had to head back to Untucked. And this was a fun one because for this Untucked, they looked back at all their sisters who already got eliminated. And I love it. It was so fun to look back at everything. A lot of people on Twitter were saying that this was not a strong cast, blah, 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 blah. A lot of people had said a lot of things, but the cast was fun. The cast was entertaining. This was a fabulous season for Drag Race Philippines. And it was really, really funny because Arizona Brandy was like, oh yeah, Kiana is the El Tocuyo of the season.
Si Kiana yung El Tocuyo Award.
What's El Tocuyo?
Wala naka-relate. Wala pala.
And none of the other queens understood the bitch. But I did because I follow pageants and seems like Arizona does. And what is the explanation? What does it mean for Kiana to be El Tocuyo? So that is a term in Philippine pageantry when a front runner does not make the semifinals or the first cut of the pageants. Because like when you watch Miss Universe, Miss World or whatever, of course they had to cut the field down to just 15 girls. And when a clear front runner does not make it, they are called or labeled as the El Tocuyo. Now, where did that actually come from? And I remember in early 2017, the 65th Miss Universe pageant was held in the Philippines. And of course, the Philippines as a pageant-heavy country, so many people had their own list predictions of who was going to win the competition. And one of them was Miss Venezuela.
Marian Cabas, El Tocuyo, Venezuela!
Who unfortunately did not make the cut. So controversially, she was not part of the semifinals list. And when she introduced herself in the competition, she said,
El Tocuyo!
Venezuela. I think that's her hometown. And Filipino pageant fans ran with it. So every time for any pageant, a frontrunner does not make the cut, they are called Miss El Tocuyo. So that's the history. So Miss Arizona Brandy, clip this, send it to all your sisters so that they understand. Kasi kawawa ka naman, di nila na-absorb yung sinabi mo. Okay, let's move on to another cute moment because the Raina queens joined the 4 queens in Untucked. That was really, really fun. Number one, because I'm not sure if we've already talked about this, but I did notice Marina did such a good job on UK versus the World Season 2. And I was like, oh my God, all her sisters are tweeting or posting about her. And I remember Venus Deluxe was nowhere to be found. Everyone was like talking about Marina that year. And Venus was not. And apparently, they had a little bit of a spat during that time, which of course they have since patched up. And I'm glad that Venus did bring that up in the show. They have not talked for 4 years.
Hindi pa kami nag-uusap nito ni Marina for the past 4 years. Ngayon na lang kami ulit nagkita.
And I'm so glad that they are friends again. Because they're 2 fabulous drag queens. And I think they already had a show together, finally, after many years of not being seen together. And I'm sure they're going to have more. I'm looking forward. I think the reason that they fought was because of the gravity inside the popcorn. But I also do think that it's the same reason that they patched up. Plus, I love that Maxi showed a little bit of jealousy to the Brigiding Suki love team. Again, love team is a very Filipino culture term. Look it up. We also have a couple of videos on this channel explaining that. So feel free to watch those as well. But that's funny because there is a love triangle online right now involving Maxi, Kiana, and Brigiding.
My other love team is out. So my other chance is here.
Stans of Maxiana and stans of Brixie are fighting. Well, not for real. But you know, these fans love shipping the queens to one another. And there is an ongoing journey of Brixie versus Maxiana. But maybe they can all just be like this one big polyamorous family. Just throw Suki in there and all the other queens. I mean, I would love that. Another thing that I found super, super funny, I do also believe is kind of an homage to Jiggly, is they stole Brigiding's jewelry. Kat was like, oh my God, you have so much jewelry on. We have to take it off of you. And then they all kept it for themselves. And they used to do that to Jiggly a lot. I remember one Untucked when Jiggly walked in and they just asked for all her jewelry. And yeah, I love that the spirit is still there. I'm sure Jiggly is cheering them on in spirit. And that was just such a cute moment. I also love that for this homage, it was really Kat who was the instigator, because they did not have a great relationship, especially after season 2 of Drag Race Philippines. And it was kind of an unresolved issue when Jiggly passed, but Kat had delivered one of the most powerful eulogies when she passed. And I think that it was a healing experience for Kat. And again, it's lovely to see that, because this whole episode really has been love and a celebration of Filipino culture. I feel like a rebuilding of relationships is what we saw a lot, because again, togetherness is a very important part of Filipino culture, and all these reconciliations are such a great expression of that. And so I feel like this is going to be a Drag Race episode that is one for the books. I also love getting to see Mama Rems, but yeah, I mean, of course, Mama Rems, she was like, you have 10 minutes to practice your lip sync. Okay, girl. Love getting to see the queen. And I feel like Mama Rems now knows that she really is a star of the show. So she just looks better every episode. At one point, I feel like she's just going to replace Mama Pao. So the queens return to the main stage, and it was Brigiding who was declared the winner of this challenge. I told you, very clear front runner, but will she end up being El Tocuyo? We'll find out next week at the finale. But it also means that 2 queens will have to lip sync for their lives. And sadly, this episode, it was Vinas Deluxe, her 3rd time in a row to have to lip sync, and Suki Doll. But when they announced the lip sync song, I was like, oh, interesting choice, because it was Power by Morissette. Now, Morissette is one of the singers in the Philippines who really has powerful vocals, known for singing these very hard to sing ballads. So I was like, this is not going to be your usual lip sync. These queens are going to have to deliver emotion. Vinas did win that lip sync by a hair. Having said that, I kind of had a feeling they're not going to send Suki home. She did so well in the challenge. All of them did. So when they announced that Suki and Vinas were both staying, I was like, makes so much sense. So for this season, 4 queens will be at the finale next episode, which is really, really exciting. Journey. Again, we've talked about how this has been a special journey for Suki, how this has been such an amazing experience for the entire cast, and how this entire episode was about the community and the sisterhood. And it was just on full display this entire episode. And it makes me proud to be a Filipino, and it also makes me so happy to be a Drag Race fan. And I'm looking forward to an amazing finale, which we will all witness together next week. So stay tuned for that, because of course, we won't skip that. The most important episode of the season will be next week, and we will be dragsplaining all of that for you, maybe with a special guest. You never know. But again, if you don't want to miss that, don't forget to subscribe to SISNE Pop for a lot of Filipino pop culture content, and so you get notified when a brand new Dragsplaining pops up. Show the love in the comments if you have thoughts, additional explanations, and a lot more. Just let us know in the comments. But for now, my name is Momo, bidding you bye, and I'll see you all on the next Dragsplaining Philippines.